Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The heater wasn't broken. The thermostat worked fine. But that morning, the whole house felt dead. No music playing in the kitchen like it used to. No smell of coffee brewing. Just the soft click of her fingernails tapping on her phone, while I stood in the doorway holding two mugs she no longer asked for. I didn't say anything right away. I just watched her scroll, her face perfectly lit by the blue screen glow. No acknowledgement, not even a glance. I set the mug down carefully, like if I made noise, she'd vanish. "Court," I said softly, "do you even feel anything anymore? This house, our marriage, it's cold." She didn't flinch, didn't even pause. Then came the words, without looking up, like she'd rehearsed them in her sleep. "If you want warmth, go to a spa." That's it. No laugh, no wink, just that punch disguised as advice. A sentence sharper than anything I'd ever said to her, even in arguments. You know what's wild? I used to think of Courtney as the softest place to land after a hard day. Now I was walking barefoot across emotional glass every morning, hoping not to bleed. I went to work, fixed printers, smiled like nothing was wrong, ate lunch in the break room, pretending the silence in my house wasn't growing fangs. But something shifted that day, something small but irreversible. When I got home, she wasn't there. Spa bag on the counter, Instagram post already up. Woman in steamy room, self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup. Funny, I've been pouring into her for years, never once saw her refill my cup. I opened our banking app. Our joint accounts stared back at me with that same blue glow her face had earlier. I tapped, I stared, and then I moved everything, every penny, into an account under my name. Not to punish her, just to feel something mine again. Next day, around 11 a.m., she texted, "Where's the money?" I replied, "If you want money, go to work." No response. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about money or sarcasm. That kind of cold doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from warmth being spent elsewhere. And in just a few days, I'd find out exactly where hers had gone. When I woke up the next morning, the house was unusually quiet. Not the peaceful kind, the eerie kind, like the calm before something breaks. Courtney had already left. No note, no text, not even the usual passive-aggressive sticky note about trash day or forgetting to fold the laundry. I opened the fridge, empty, aside from a lemon and a bottle of almond milk I didn't buy. I poured myself a bowl of cereal with tap water and stared at my phone, half expecting her to send some snarky response about the money, but nothing. Around noon, I got a notification from the bank. She'd attempted to pay for something and got declined. I imagined her face when the card failed, probably confused at first, then annoyed, maybe even embarrassed. A small part of me, pathetic as it sounds, hoped it would make her think about us, about how far apart we'd drifted. But by 5 p.m., she still hadn't said a word. That evening, I decided to take out the trash she'd ignored for a week. As I tied the bag, a folded receipt fell from between two empty wine bottles. It was from a restaurant downtown, expensive too. 2 entrees, 2 glasses of Pinot Noir, a shared dessert, time-stamped 2 nights ago. The same night, she said she was too exhausted to talk. I didn't react right away. I just stood there in the kitchen, gripping the receipt like it was an arrest warrant. Her name wasn't on it, of course, but the last 4 digits of the card matched hers, and unless she suddenly developed a second stomach, someone else had been across from her that night, clinking forks and sharing chocolate cake while I ate leftover noodles alone. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I went through her Instagram again. I'd never really paid attention before, but now, with new eyes, I saw it. The vague captions, the cropped-out arms, the overuse of the word me time. There was one story that stood out. A dimly lit wine glass across from another one, blurred, almost like she tried to hide it, but wanted someone to notice that someone wasn't me. She came home late, humming to herself like nothing had happened. No apology, no mention of the card. I watched her walk past me, kick off her shoes, and say, "Oh, by the way, we're low on groceries. Can you get some tomorrow?" I nodded, but inside, something cracked. Not from anger. God, I wish it was anger. It was worse than that. It was confirmation. She had checked out long ago, and now I was about to check in to the version of me she forgot existed. The next morning, I did exactly what she asked. I went grocery shopping, not because I wanted to, not because I cared, but because it gave me an excuse to be out of the house and avoid pretending things were fine. I wandered the aisles like a ghost, pushing the cart without any real plan. My head wasn't in the produce section. It was stuck back at the dinner table I hadn't known existed, the one from that receipt. When I got home, she was on the phone, not with a friend, not with her mum. I don't know who it was, but her voice dropped to that tone I hadn't heard in years. The soft, playful one, the one she used to use with me when things were new. I stayed by the door and listened. I had a great time too. No, it was perfect. I haven't laughed like that in forever. He has no idea. Those words clung to the inside of my skull like mold. I stood there frozen, holding a bag of oranges like a complete idiot. She hung up just as I quietly stepped into the kitchen and placed the groceries down. She turned around, startled, then smiled in that fake bright way people use when they're covering a lie. "Hey, thanks for getting the stuff. Sorry I've been distant. Work's been heavy." Work? She hadn't held a job in 2 years. I nodded, playing dumb. "No worries." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to her in bed, wide awake, listening to her breathe like everything was normal. My mind was racing. What was I even still doing here? Was I scared? Probably. I'd spent so long convincing myself that loyalty was the most important thing that I forgot. Loyalty means nothing when it's not returned. Around 3 a.m., I got up and walked into the living room. I sat on the couch and stared at the TV without turning it on. Then I opened my laptop. I didn't know what I was looking for. Proof. A sign. Closure. Maybe I was hoping to find something that told me I was wrong. I went through our shared cloud storage, just scrolling out of habit. Then I saw it. A folder labeled Receipts and Rentals. I'd never noticed it before. Inside were screenshots, photos of dinner reservations, hotel confirmations, a spa day package labeled Romantic Escape, Couples Deal, all recent, all under her name. One file was a selfie, her in a robe holding a glass of champagne and reflected in the mirror behind her, a man's bare shoulder, blurry but unmistakably not mine. I shut the laptop slowly, like closing it would somehow undo what I had just seen. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just sat there still, small, erased. This wasn't just about sarcasm anymore. This was betrayal documented, time-stamped, and filed neatly in a folder with a cute little name. The next few days were a blur. She acted like nothing had happened. Morning smoothies, gym selfies, random laughter at things on her phone that I never got to see. Meanwhile, I walked around like a ghost she didn't even bother to notice anymore. And that's the thing that messes with your head. Not just the betrayal itself, but how normal everything stays around it. It's like watching your house burn down while everyone inside carries on eating dinner. She kept asking why I was quiet. Is it work stuff? She'd say, with this half-fake concern that made me want to scream. I wanted to blurt it all out. I wanted to throw the laptop in front of her, point to the folder, and watch her try to spin her way out of it. But something stopped me. Maybe I wasn't ready to hear her lies face to face. Maybe I was hoping she'd confess. Or maybe I was just too numb to react. One evening, I took our dog, Bentley, for a walk. He's a golden retriever and probably the only living creature in that house who actually noticed I wasn't okay. He kept nudging my hand with his nose like he wanted to pull something out of me. I ended up sitting on a bench outside the dog park with him at my feet, just staring at the sky, trying to remember the last time I felt human. That's when I got the idea. I wasn't going to confront her, at least not yet. But I needed to know. I needed something I couldn't ignore or rationalize away. So, I did something I swore I'd never do. I checked her tablet. It was linked to her phone. I don't know why she left it on the couch that day, but she did. And I opened it. First, it was just casual stuff. Messages with friends, group chats, memes. But then I saw his name, Tanner. I didn't recognize it at first, but I'd seen it on one of the dinner reservations. I clicked the thread. There it was, her entire second life unfolding in text bubbles. Tanner. Last night was everything. Wish I didn't have to sneak out. Courtney. Me too. I hate sleeping next to Milton after being with you. Tanner. Soon, baby. He's clueless. Courtney. He's too soft to do anything anyway. That one broke me. Too soft to do anything. As if being decent was a weakness. As if not yelling, not cheating, not disappearing for hours without explanation made me pathetic. I shut the tablet and placed it back exactly where I found it. I walked into the kitchen, turned on the sink, and stared at my own reflection in the window. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to rage or curse or throw plates, but I also wasn't going to sit there anymore pretending to be the husband of a woman who laughed at my kindness. That night, she crawled into bed next to me and casually said, "We should go somewhere warm next month. Maybe a couple's retreat." I didn't answer because while she was planning a retreat, I was planning something else. The next morning felt different. Not better, just quieter, in a loaded kind of way. She was sipping coffee in the sunroom, scrolling like usual and humming a song I didn't recognize. I stood in the hallway and just watched her. She hadn't noticed me yet. Her hair was tied up in that messy bun she always said I loved. Once upon a time, I did. But now, all I saw was someone who thought I'd never grow a spine. Someone who counted on my silence as permission. She glanced up. "Hey, babe, can you pick up my dry cleaning later? They close at 6. It was surreal how easily the lies lived alongside the requests. I nodded. Sure. Then I walked into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, my mind already spinning. I wasn't going to play the angry husband trope. That's what she expected. An explosion she could twist around to justify herself. No, I was going to be something much harder to dismiss. Calculated, controlled, precise. I started by taking inventory digitally, emotionally, even financially. I went through our accounts, sorted every subscription she signed up for, every auto payment tied to my cards. I made a list and started canceling one by one. The streaming services, the monthly beauty boxes, even the overpriced yoga app she never used but bragged about on social media. Gone. Then I called our internet provider, switched the plan to the most basic one. No more lightning speed Wi-Fi for her late-night FaceTime calls to Marissa that definitely weren't to Marissa. That evening, she stormed into the kitchen. "Did you mess with the internet? It's crawling." I looked at her with the calmest voice I've ever had. "Figured we could save some money. You said we needed a break from screens anyway, right?" She blinked, thrown off by the reasonableness of it. "Yeah, but you didn't even ask. I figured you'd be fine. You usually do things without asking." She didn't say anything after that, just left the room with an eye roll, muttering something under her breath. I didn't care. I was already on my next step. That night, while she was in the bath, probably texting Tanner about how unbearable I was, I slipped into the garage and grabbed the box I'd hidden weeks ago. Inside was everything she forgot I had access to. Wedding photos, old letters, printouts of her messages, and now screenshots of the texts from her tablet. I printed those too, not because I needed proof I already knew, but because I wanted to give her the chance to see herself the way I now saw her. I tucked them all into a sealed envelope and left it under her pillow. When she came to bed later, I pretended to be asleep. I felt her body stiffen when she found it. She didn't open it right away. She just held it there, like it was ticking. The silence between us was no longer cold. It was aware, and I was done waiting to be seen. The next morning, I acted normal. I poured coffee, shuffled around the kitchen, made a little extra noise so she wouldn't think I was waiting for a reaction. I wasn't. Not anymore. I had already said everything I needed to, just not with my voice. I left it all in that envelope under her pillow. Every text, every reservation, every comment she made about how soft I was, every lie she told with a smile. She didn't mention it, not right away. She came into the kitchen, dressed like she was heading to brunch with royalty. Flawless makeup, perfect hair, that black coat she always said made her feel powerful. I watched her sip the coffee I made, cross her legs like she was posing for a magazine, and casually ask, "Are you working late again tonight?" I almost laughed. She was playing it so cool, like she hadn't just held a landmine in her hands the night before. "I might be," I said. "Depends on how things go." She nodded, eyes fixed on her phone. A moment passed, then another, and then finally, as if it was just a side comment, she said, "By the way, that envelope, that was dramatic." I turned to her slowly. "Dramatic?" She shrugged. "You really went through all that trouble printing screenshots. That's a lot of ink for someone trying to cut costs." That was it. That was her response to being exposed. Not denial, not shame, not even anger, just sarcasm and mockery. I stared at her for a long second, and suddenly everything made sense. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't regret. This was someone who had already justified every betrayal in her head and now saw me as the ridiculous one for noticing. She stood up, tossed her empty mug in the sink like a mic drop, and added, "You're not going to leave. You'd never actually do anything. You're too safe." And there it was, the final puzzle piece. She didn't stay because she loved me. She stayed because she was convinced I wouldn't leave, that I didn't have the guts to stop being her financial backbone, her emotional doormat, her placeholder. She left for her brunch, and I sat at the table for a long time, staring at the empty chair across from me. The silence didn't feel cold anymore. It felt hollow. And in that hollow space, something finally clicked. I had been trying to get her to see me, to acknowledge me. But why? Why beg to matter to someone who already decided I didn't? That night, I didn't go to work late. I didn't go to work at all. I went somewhere else, somewhere she wouldn't expect. And what I saw there made everything unravel even faster. She said it was brunch, but I knew better. She always dressed up too much for these casual outings, and she left the house with the kind of energy she hadn't shown around me in years. Light on her feet, humming to herself, checking her reflection twice before the door closed behind her. That wasn't someone heading to mimosas with girlfriends. That was someone excited to be seen by the right person. So, I followed her. Not like in the movies, no trench coat or sunglasses. I waited 15 minutes, then got in my car and drove the route she usually took downtown. I knew her patterns better than she thought I did. She always parked in the same garage on 5th. I circled until I spotted her car. It was there. No surprise. The surprise was where she went. She didn't walk to a cafe. She didn't meet Marissa or the girls. She turned the corner and entered the back entrance of a boutique hotel, the kind with sleek glass walls and fake smiles at the front desk. I stayed in my car, heart pounding so loud I thought people could hear it from the sidewalk. 20 minutes passed, then 30. My palms were sweating, not from anger, but from the realization that this was it. This was the moment I stopped hoping I was wrong. And just when I was about to leave, he showed up. Tanner. I recognized him from a few tagged photos she'd been careless enough to leave public. He was taller than me, confident, wearing a jacket she once told me was too flashy when I tried something similar. He walked in without hesitation, like he belonged. That night, she came home smelling like vanilla and red wine. She didn't ask where I'd been, didn't seem curious, just dropped her purse, kicked off her heels, and asked, "Did you eat?" I nodded, pretending to be half asleep. She crawled into bed beside me and started scrolling through her phone, probably texting him good night. I stared at the ceiling and wondered what the exact moment was when she stopped being mine. Was it when I got laid off that time and she started sighing more? Was it when I stopped initiating things in bed because she always turned away? Or maybe it was never sudden. Maybe it was just one ignored glance, one cold dinner, one sarcastic reply at a time until we were two strangers keeping up appearances. But that night, as she lay next to me, completely unaware that I knew everything, I wasn't thinking about pain anymore. I was thinking about precision, about what it would mean to stop being the safe one, the nice one, the predictable one she could step over while texting someone else under my roof. The next morning, she left again. Another appointment. I didn't follow her this time. I didn't need to because I had made an appointment too. At a place called Crown Ridge Legal, 10 a.m. sharp. When I stepped into the law office, I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel brave or victorious. I felt like someone finally dragging his dignity out of the mud quietly, awkwardly, with both hands shaking. The attorney, a woman named Dana, listened patiently as I laid it all out. She didn't look shocked. I guess when you deal with broken marriages for a living, nothing surprises you anymore. But the moment I showed her the screenshots, the receipts, the hotel confirmations, she leaned back and said, "You've already done the hardest part. Now, you just have to follow through." That hit me harder than I expected, because she was right. I had spent years justifying Courtney's coldness, calling it stress, or phases, or burnout. But what it really was someone slowly removing love from the relationship, like it was furniture she planned to sell before moving out. I signed the papers. Simple as that. No drama, just initials and a full stop. I came home that evening and found Courtney in the living room, lounging on the couch, laptop in her lap, wine glass half full. She looked up and gave me a lazy smile. "You're home early." I handed her the folder. "What's this?" she asked, barely glancing at it. "Instructions," I said. "It's all been arranged." She flipped it open, saw the word petition, and her whole body stiffened. "You're divorcing me?" I nodded. "It's already moving. You can read the details. You don't need to talk to me." She blinked slowly, as if the meaning hadn't fully landed yet. "Wait, are you serious right now?" I looked at her. No yelling, no bitterness, just silence that said everything I needed it to. "You told me to go to the spa if I wanted warmth," I said softly. "Turns out I found peace instead." That was the last real conversation we had. Within 2 weeks, she moved out. She didn't fight the process. Maybe she was relieved. Maybe she realized she'd underestimated the very man she thought was too soft to leave. I won't pretend it didn't hurt. It did. But the strange thing is, once she was gone, the house didn't feel cold anymore. It felt honest. Bentley started sleeping near my door again. I could actually hear myself think. And for the first time in forever, I started making plans for me. Not for us, not for survival, but just for my own life. That was my story, and I shared it here on Reddit Confessions, because I know I'm not the only one who stayed too long hoping someone would change. Have you ever ignored red flags because you thought loyalty would be enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might help someone else walk away a little sooner. And don't forget, you're watching Reddit Confessions.